ask Martine to now start. One of the important things for our community here is obviously that we are segmented in terms of buy-side, sell-side custody, as well as some of the infrastructure plays as well. So within the audience here, you've got buy-side, sell-side, exchanges, depositories, and so on and so forth. So if I could also ask you to address some of those in specific areas as well, that would be fantastic. Because we have a panel discussion afterwards with the leaders of each of those communities to debate the response to the sale. So, Martin.
Actually, I do have a PowerPoint presentation if you...
I have one of those.
Sorry? Those have to be in
Disc. Right, come on, we've got one of these.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say, no. I can upload it to the website after.
We can do that, but I will. Okay, we can do that. Because
Sorry about that.
no, that's fine. This is not great in technology. Basically, I thought I would be. Oops, no, my notes.
No.
I thought I would be covering 3 areas with you this morning. The first, I want to walk you through the process between now and the implementation of MiFID in November. It's very high level, but how we see it happening at the FSA. I want to go back to the market provisions. Obviously, we don't have a lot of time and there are a lot of details. I'm just going to talk about it broadly. And in the presentation, there is a nice overview table of all. I need 2 marks.
Yeah, you're not placing on the
There is an overview table that is basically what are the transparency requirements. And then in the third part of my presentation, I want to make some suggestions in terms of things you could do to get ready for the implementation of MiFID. Basically, in the first part, with respect to the FSA consultation program, as some of you may already be aware, we published a document in November called Planning for MiFID. It is very high level, but basically what it describes in very general terms what is coming, what types of firms would be affected, in what way, and it provides some hints in terms of how you could prepare. It also included a provisional timetable, but obviously there's been a little bit of slippage in the development of the level 2 text, so the timetable is not quite relevant. But anyway, it is still a document that may be worth having a look at. It's on our website. In terms of the FSA timetable, what we have decided to do is basically break down our consultation into discrete pieces. We're going to be publishing, believe it or not, we're planning to publish 4 consultation papers. The first one, in the second quarter, will cover systems and controls. It will be what we call like a single body or single platform for system and controls, and it will describe how we intend to implement the new systems and control requirements flowing from the CRD. The CRD is the Capital Requirement Directive, which is going to be coming into force at the beginning of 2007. And it will also include system and controls, new requirements flowing from the implementation of MiFID. This is the first CP. The second one, in the third quarter, will cover market transparency, transaction reporting, authorization and permissions, as well as enforcement and cooperation. Our third CP will be in the fourth quarter of 2006, and that will be covering the conduct of business requirements. And finally, we'll also have another one in the fourth quarter, which will be covering marketing communications. I must stress that this consultation program is provisional. It is it has been developed basically on the assumption that the dates that were provided by Stephen earlier in his presentation will hold. I suppose it will. And if there are further delays, then we may have to make some adjustments accordingly in terms of our consultation timetable. In terms of our implementation approach, I cannot this morning give you a lot of details, but what I can share with you is basically what are our guiding principles. The first principle is that we will adopt what we call a copy out of the directive requirements. That means the level 1 text, which was finalized in 2001, and the level 2 text. As Sabino has explained, the level 2 text came in two forms. One is in the form of a directive, and the other one is in the form of a regulation. And also, as he has explained, there is no need for legislative intervention at the member state level to implement the regulation. It basically has the force of law. But nonetheless, to make things simpler for the industry, we have the intention of copying this regulation into the FSA rules as appropriate, just to make it easier. That's the first principle. The second principle is that we intend to delete existing rules that have been overwritten by the MiFID. This is pretty obvious, but I thought I would mention it. We will also be removing other redundant material which are no longer needed. And to the extent possible and sensible, we will be simplifying the handbook as well. So, as you can appreciate, it's not just about implementing MiFID, it is also about taking the opportunity to simplify, to get rid of what we no longer need in the handbook. In terms of the market, this is in a nutshell what I wanted to say in terms of our implementation. In terms of the main market provisions, basically what MiFID does is provides a clearer definition of what is a regulated market. It creates a new multilateral trading facility regime for the first time, and now this has become an activity that can be passported across member states. For the UK, this may not be that new because we already have what we call ATS. But nonetheless, for some other member states, this is a bigger change. The MiFID also brings systematic internalizers. I'm not going to talk about them much because Stephen has already explained what these are. But I'm just going to echo his comments about the level 2 text, the definition of the systematic internalizer, and as well as the definition of liquid shares. We think that overall it's a sensible approach that has been proposed by the Commission, and we think this is something we can work with. MiFID also abolished concentration rule, which was not obviously in place in the UK, but some of the member states basically required that retail transactions be executed on a regulated market. There is a new transparency regime. This only applies to equity transactions, and the Commission will be reviewing into, I always have to double check the dates. I would be, they have been changing a few times, that's my excuse. There would be, is it the last time they changed? Maybe not, but the current plan is for the Commission to make a determination as to whether these transparency provisions that currently apply to equity products ought to be extended to non-equity products, and the target date is October 2007. And finally, as part of what we call the main market provision, there is a new pan-European best execution regimes. That I must note, it applies to all transactions in MiFID instruments. It is not just for equities. If I were able to put my PowerPoint, well, I have an overview table. I'm very proud of it. I want to show it to you. It describes it describes what are the main requirements for pre and post transparency. And the only thing I'm going to mention in terms of what this means for the UK, in terms of pre-trade transparency, we do not have at the moment detailed prescriptive FSA rules regarding pre-trade transparency. However, there is a fair degree of pre-trade transparency nonetheless by virtue of the rules that apply on the exchanges, like for example the LSE and Vertex. One thing that will change with MiFID is the fact that transparency, the transparency information will need to be made available to investors located in the European community. And there will be a choice in terms of how these trade information can be reported. It can be reported either via a regulated market, third party, or through their own proprietary means. However, there are certain conditions, criteria that have to be met when for the publication. For example, it has to be made on a non-discriminatory commercial basis at a reasonable cost. It has to be made in a way which is easily accessible to other market participants. And it also has to be made in a way which facilitates consolidation with other similar data. And this is probably the area where there will be the most change compared to the current situation in the UK. As I'm sure most of you already know, the NSC has a rule currently which requires trade reports to be either on the NSC or other recognized investment exchanges. And once MiFID is implemented, that rule will no longer be consistent with MiFID. So basically, what would actually take place is a lot of the trade reports which currently go on the NSC would basically go elsewhere, provided again that the criteria laid out in the MiFID level 2 text are met. Overall, all these provisions aim at enhancing competition between trading platforms whilst preventing undue fragmentation of liquidity. The FSC has supported the broad objectives, and we've been very involved in the process, and we're quite confident that we have a package we can work with at the moment. Next steps, as I mentioned, the Commission will be reviewing the transparency provisions and with a view to determine whether they should be extended to non-liquidity products. I'm going to take the opportunity here to mention that we have issued a discussion paper in the autumn on bond transparency, and we are in the process of analyzing the responses we've been receiving, and we'll be over the next few months issuing a feedback statement. The Commission will also be reviewing whether the systematic and penalizer provisions are operating properly. Then the target date is a little bit further away. It makes sense because I suppose, well, it makes sense to wait until the rules have been implemented. But so there's a target date of having a review completed 1 year after the implementation of MiFID, which is in October 2008. And the last area of where the Commission will be doing a review that I want to mention relates to consolidation of trade information. As I mentioned earlier, MiFID brings competition in the provision and the trade reporting, and I think there is a policy interest in ensuring that that data is not unduly fragmented, and that at the end of the day, investors have access to more transparent information once MiFID has implemented than is currently the case throughout Europe. That's a very quick overview of the market provisions. In terms of suggestions of what you might do to get ready, as I mentioned earlier, planning for MiFID is on the, this is probably step one. If you have not read planning for MiFID, this is on the FSA website. I would also, strange that I'm the first one to do that, but recommend to read the European Commission's level 2 text. There is some background information which I think can be quite useful. There are two texts. One is the directive and one is the regulations. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll be doing extensive consultation. So please keep your eyes open on the consultation paper on the FSA website. We'll be updating, and we'll be holding a MiFID conference as well. We have yet to announce the date, but we're thinking about something in the second quarter of this year. And obviously, like, this is kind of the backbone, but we'll be holding more informal meetings with the industry. And by all means, you probably will get my email address somehow. By all means, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop me an email. And if I can't deal with that question, I shall forward it to our colleagues. Thank you very much.